Hello and welcome, listeners, to That's a Good Card. Today, we are thrilled to welcome a longtime listener, as well as one of me and Ya's favorite people and Magic content creators.
Definitely.
Top 3 for sure.
Nice.
Mike from the Howling Salt Mine.
Thank you. Wow. I'm glad you emphasized longtime listener. I definitely love the show. And I have recommended pretty much everybody that I can to come and listen as well.
Thank you so much.
Heck yeah. You know, I will say between you, Mike, and Tony, which is your podcast, I don't know, what do you call yourself? Like a triumvirate?
Me, Sam, and Tony even.
Yes. Yes.
Two mics. I'll take 2 mics, but we benefit a lot from having Sam.
That's true. Mike, and Mike. Of the 3 of you, I feel like are probably the most CEDH pilled of the 3 of you. Do you think that's an accurate statement? I know that Sam does happen to be the mod of the CEDH morality score.
He does. He's really deep in that dimension, and I think he's probably technically tried more decks than me. But I think I have the deepest obsession with it. I'm not sure if he'd agree, but I think that's fair to say. I definitely was the first one that was like, hey guys, what if we stopped limiting ourselves to 10 proxies and just did the whole thing?
Oh, dang. You guys were doing 10 proxies before?
Yeah. So for us, CDH was a natural progression of us just building steadily more degenerate stuff. Until I was playing like Halden Paco divergent transformations with Thassa and Leveler. And then at that point we were like, we need to fix this because we're getting ready to like buy Gilded Drakes and stuff because none of us had any of these things beforehand.
Drop some real money.
Yeah, money was going to start to be a problem. So we changed.
That's great. And for the listeners at home who don't know who you are, what's a quick description of your podcast, which me and Ya, like I said, we're huge fans of this podcast, and everyone should check them out. The links will be in the description down below.
Thank you. The show is a comedy advice podcast. We read 3 salty stories of games gone wrong. We talk about casual. We talk about CDH. Every once in a while, another format sneaks in there before the censors catch it. But we share, we joke about it. We try and talk about it and try and give people avenues to find more enjoyment from the game and not be as salty from it as well.
Awesome. Well, sweet. We're super glad to have you on here. It's time to kind of talk about what card you're bringing to us today. But first, we're going to explain that Mike has chosen Ya as his ally, his Robin to his Batman.
Yep.
To help him pitch this awesome card. And he's chosen me to be the devil's advocate and tear this card to bits.
Yes.
All right, Mike, are you ready to read out the card for the week?
I am. I will say the teammate felt natural because Ya's reaction immediately was positive. And Kyle's reaction immediately was, I don't know, maybe a different card.
It's true, but I'm gonna let you go off and let you cook here. Why don't you read the card for the week?
Absolutely. So the card I've brought is UGIN, Eye of the Storms. It costs 7 generic mana. It's a legendary planeswalker, an UGIN, and it has, whenever you cast the spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. It also has, whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. It also has, +2, you gain 3 life and draw a card. It also has 0, add 3 generic mana. It also has -11. Search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana costs. And it comes in with 7 loyalty.
Wow. And it also has
the unique quality of being the only non-MDFC planeswalker that you guys have covered so far.
Wow. It does also have that. The only MDFC being Tybalt, which was on the Valky episode, and we didn't really talk about Tybalt, let's be honest.
Yeah, that wasn't a really relevant part of it. So I'm hoping to do better than that, the backside of that
Valky.
Same cost. Same cost.
True, same cost. All right, yeah. Why don't you lead us into the stats around UGIN, Eye of the Storms?
So this one has a unique distinguishing mark of like actually not being included in a lot of bracket 5 decks on Moxfield. I actually only found 449, which is kind of low for some of the cards we've been covering lately.
Mhm.
From the tournament standpoint, over the last 3 months, again filtered down to 64 players, it has 23 decks that have run it, 5 top cuts, and then 1 win. That was on Azula dock. Should be no surprise to anybody there. Decks that include it are Liberator, Urzur's Battlethopter, Zuladoc, Tameo, a Marvin deck, Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, which is not surprising, and then also Gwenum, which
The
is
flavor of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike just smiled there.
I will admit.
Why'd you smile on that Gwenum flavor of the month? Do you happen to
Yeah.
play that deck?
So definitely, I will admit that that's the deck that I found this card in when I was searching for specific answers, and it'll kind of be in a lot of the points. But there are some decks that really want this card, and Gwenum is absolutely, I think, one of them.
Gotcha. So is the goal today to kind of convince others that this card should be played outside of the decks we listed? Or is the goal today to just kind of drive home that of the decks that we listed, you should definitely be playing this card?
I think it's a bit of both. I think the colorless pilots, frankly, are probably already playing it. So I'm not too worried about like trying to push them to do it. Though if they're not, I am. I do think that there is another narrow slice of decks that should be considering this card. And I think the reach of it should be larger, but I definitely don't think it's this should be in everything or this should be a staple or something like that. It's not that case, but I think there's a niche it fills that people look for a card to fill and don't find this, and they should start finding it.
Yeah. And it's relatively new, right? So it came out in Tarkir Dragonstorm. So
exactly
the fact that it's only 449 bracket 5 lists, like we joke, normally when we look it up, it's like 999 plus. It's just in like so many different decks. But for a card that hasn't been out very long, it being in almost 500 lists is actually kind of a lot. So I know we're memeing on it, but it's seen more play. Like 449 is a lot more than I thought, which I thought was going to be like maybe 200 tops. I'm not gonna lie.
There
with
are
100 of them being Zuladoc and like 50 being Liberator or something like that.
Yeah. There are definitely cards that are newer that see more play. Like I won't deny that either. But those are things that people just immediately see even during spoiler season and identify like that's a CDH card.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, have you ever played this card?
No, but I actually have a unique experience with it. My niece, one of my nieces, reached out to me because she pulled this card when she opened up some Takir stuff and really wanted to build around it. But then I had to explain to her, like, hey, you really can't actually, it doesn't say you can play it as a commander, but you can try to rule 0 it in. And so I kind of helped her build.
Just crush your niece?
No.
Dreams.
Well, maybe. I told her like she could look at like Zuladoc as a commander that this can be run in, but then always ask the table, hey, look, can I run UGIN as my as my salty commander? I had to explain to her and then had to clear whether or not she could listen to your podcast, Mike, through her dad, my best friend. So that took a little bit of convincing, but
your discretion is advised.
Yes, I haven't played her yet. We have been meaning to try to get a game in together, but they live in Oregon, so it's hard to like find time with a teenager.
Yeah,
of course. Well, I hope you have a great time getting demolished by this card because I think that's what it would
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and my experience with this card is limited to the amount of play that I have against Zuladoc, which is actually more than the average player because Connor Mihai, sorry. You know what's funny? Connor, like one of my best friends up here, we play tons of Magic together. I always call him Connor, but his name is Mihai, even though it's Mihali. So it's spelled like Mihaly. I've been calling him Mihaly all the time, this whole time. The last tournament, I'm like, is it actually Mihai? I've just been saying it wrong this whole time, and then you haven't corrected me. He's like, yeah, it's Mihai. And I was like, damn it, Connor.
Gotta let me know.
Yeah. But anyway, I played against Connor, who plays this card often. So I have a decent amount of experience against it, and I have my own kind of preconceived notions, but I'm excited to hear what do you have to say about this card. I actually haven't played against Gwenum yet, even though it's flavor of the month. I expect to play against it soon, but haven't played against it yet, so we'll see. But all right,
Well,
Mike, let's take us into it. What are some positives of why people should be playing UGIN Eye of the Storms?
yeah. So I'll kick it off with something that I think is kind of obvious. It is the first line in the text box, which is you get an effect when you cast it, and that's a cast trigger. So it's kind of like the Eldrazi Titans out there, where you cast it and you get some effect right away. And in order to deal with that, opponents need to deal with two things, right? You're suddenly breaking that one for one kind of interaction where someone might just counter you and you get stuck and you're sad. If they really want to stop what you're trying to do, they either need to like misdirect and counterspell you, or find something that's gonna like clear the stack, and like whirlwind denial or some BS that's really gonna deal with everything that you're trying to put out. And so I think, yes, it's 7 mana, but it gives you these two effects right away, right off the rip, that pose a kind of big threat to the table. Like removing something can be absolutely critical, and UGIN sitting on the board is also going to be an issue, and we can get into why too.
Yeah. And notably, what's funny is we actually covered kind of like the potency of like big cast triggers on big colorless things when we talked about Emrakul, the Promised End.
Mhm.
So shockingly, at 7 mana cost, this is not the highest mana value thing we've talked about on the podcast.
Not even close.
Not even close, shockingly. Although generally speaking, maybe Emrakul will be cast at a similar rate. But
Yeah, it does get the discount.
It does absolutely get the discount. So, I mean, in terms of like the cast trigger being a potent thing, yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. The only way to stop that, TAGC special trick bind.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, it can get redirected. It can get like deflecting,
Yeah.
swatted, or misdirectioned, or the ricochet trap. All that stuff will do it, but it also has an interesting thing where it's got kind of limited targets. So if you're a deck that wants to be playing this, you also likely run a bunch of colorless stuff. So your selection of targets to swat this trigger to is maybe kind of minimal compared to the rest of the table. So it gets a little extra hard to interact with because of that too.
Yeah, that's interesting because it does have to be a permanent that's one or more colors. So if you're sitting there in your Zuladoc deck or your Battlethopter deck and everything you have is colorless, then the SWAT is just kind of like a little sad because the thing that you're pointing at isn't dying, but at the same time, something is. Yeah, somebody's catching these hands.
Yeah, it's going somewhere. I also think I'll give it away a little bit. I'll go into second point with it, but the targets that you want to be removing, we should talk a little bit about some of the things that you're hitting with this. Like, you're hitting Rhystic Studies, Mystic Remoras. You're hitting things like Dranith that are maybe stopping a deck like Zuladoc. You're hitting or a deck like Gwenom. You're hitting like any of these pieces that are really slowing you down. Like a lot of Stacks pieces are colored. There are the artifact ones, but many of them are like valid targets to open up your game here.
Yeah, interesting. I want to ask, like, anecdotally speaking, and I hope I'm not stepping on any points further down, but like when you've played this card, how often do you cast this at flash speed?
So I don't too often. But again, I'm playing it in Gwenom, so I'm really only running like Emergence Zone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll talk through it. The situation that I'm playing this in Gwenom, and I think is kind of touches on a lot of points, and we can expand to other decks, is that you get a Gwenom trigger, or if you're in some other deck, you get a Bolas's Citadel out, and that's a powerful effect. You look at your top card, it's this, and you're staring down the rest of the board. And what you were worried about heading into this trigger is you're worried, okay, there's a Rhystic Study, there's a fish, there's like, some other piece that's going to generate value, like maybe a Smothering Tithe also. So all three players are going to be benefiting like crazy if I try to go off. You cast this, you deal with one of those pretty much right away. And then if people can't answer it or don't think they need to for some reason, you're going to keep hitting other colorless stuff off the top and just be able to clear out all of the rest of the pieces that are in your way.
And I'll just go ahead and read Gwenom just for the listeners. It's up on the screen, but for the listeners at home who don't have video here. So Gwenom the Remorseless, or Gwenom Remorseless, is a 5 mana creature, 3 and 2 black, legendary creature, symbiote, spider hero. So 4/4, death touch, lifelink. Whenever Gwenum attacks until the end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. So if UGIN, like you were saying, is on the top, you pay 7 life, cast UGIN, get the trigger. UGIN's now in play, and lo and behold, there's a Mox Amber on the top of your library, or a Soul Ring on top of your library. You pay a life, or you pay nothing, cast that, point at something else, pew, 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 and then anyway, UGIN starts blasting.
Yep. Or in some delightful occasions, there's a Sensei's Divining Top on top of your library. And then you're really going to deal with everything else while you're setting up to go for the win.
Absolutely. Because you can just cast the thing, get the UGIN trigger, put it back on top, cast the thing, get the UGIN trigger, put it back on top.
Yeah. So you start your loop and you clear everybody's board of every colored permanent.
Notably, it does say that the permanent has to have color attached to it, which means that you can't hit lands, which is kind of big sad. How crazy would it be if you could hit lands?
I mean, I've got a fringe point for it.
Okay.
Which is 8.5 tails exists.
Wait, what is that? I'm only
tails
CEDH build. What is that?
It's not a CDH card,
but it's not a CEDH card.
It's a 2-drop that lets you pay 1 to turn target permanent white.
Yep.
There's no way.
You don't do this. You don't do this.
I'm turning your cradle white, and then I'm gonna exile it. That's insane.
Yeah, it wasn't at the top of the document. I'll put it that way. But
I love that you did write that down. You actually wrote that down.
He did. Hey, yep, it's right here. I'm looking at it.
Like, coming incredibly prepared. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, so I'll also say, I play some tournaments. I have a lot of fringe CEDH experience. So I do like seeing stuff that is going to be kind of on the edge or that people don't expect. But I do think that this is relevant in the decks that want it for like actual tournaments and things as well.
Yeah. Well, that's dope. What's your next point?
So my next point is that second triggered ability is also a cast. And maybe this is redundant, but that triggered ability also being a cast means every time you're playing any of those like colorless spells, again, you're doing that same thing you were just doing on the first spell. So if you're playing a One Ring with this out or something like that, which you're in Christmas land already a little bit, but you're already putting out, again, 2 threats. Like it's still hard to interact with, even if people do think that it's okay to let land.
Gotcha. So you're saying, like, since that is a trigger off of a cast, whatever you cast doesn't even have to resolve. Is that like the benefit that you're trying to say? Is like, hey, it's gonna happen regardless of if you mind break trap this One Ring that I'm now casting because I have 11 mana.
Well, so this does get into my next point, which is that it has so much that it does. Right? We read through. It's a wall of text. I did kind of a bit that it also has, but it does also have all of these things. So in a deck like Gwenum, it's going to care about gaining 3 life and drawing a card. That can be pretty critical because you can be clearing the next land off of the top of your deck and unbricking yourself. That 3 life, honestly, in a deck like Gwenum that is just Bolas' Citadel in the command zone, that 3 life can matter. It can also give you that 3 mana, the 3 generic mana, and immediately enable you to cast that next spell. So you joked, if you have 11 mana. It's not if you have 11 mana. If you have 8 mana. Which,
there you go.
Yes. Is still absurd, but it's much more reasonable, than 11 mana. So it is a different thing. And sometimes you have, like, let's say you have this and a Signet in hand. You're looking at playing this. People are like, okay, he has 1 other card in hand. Does he really have, some ability to like go off here? You'd have to remove another thing, and then you play your Signet. Like, you get that second piece of removal right there.
Yeah. And a lot of the times, if you're casting a colorless spell, a lot of the colorless spells we see in CEDH are rocks that give mana. So they can kind of like not actually cascade, because we have to be careful with our words here, but they can like cascade into each other. So like rock, tap the rock, cast another rock, tap the rock, cast another rock kind of thing, to get multiple effects. So, I mean, I do see, like, when I look at the card just like straight up at the beginning, I think to myself that 0 cost ability that adds 3 colorless mana is the most powerful ability of the 3 planeswalker
Mhm.
loyalty abilities. So I
Yes.
get like that one to me. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. Like the unbreaking yourself on Gwenem specifically, sure. Clear the land, gain 3 life, whoop de doo. Like
Mhm.
kind of just like a finger spin. Woo, nice.
It it's the difference between like one clear of a land though in a deck like Gwenem is night and day. It really
Fair.
does make or break whether or not the turn wins. So if you can get one of those, it's huge. And
Yeah.
it's exactly the same like mana differential. So like you pay it for 7, you get 3 mana out. You pay it for 7 life, you get 3 life out. So you're kind of operating on that same like
Yeah.
gap there.
Yeah. Yeah, it fills itself. That's kind of funny.
I'll go to one more point, which is it's colorless and you can play it in a lot of low color decks. So I think that's where it's going to shine. It's going to shine in low color decks that are maybe already relying pretty heavily on artifacts or artifact synergies to get
Mm-hmm.
their game plan where they want to go.
Mm.
And in those decks, often a low color deck is going to struggle interacting with a specific permanent type. So a Gwenem is going to really struggle to interact with enchantments. A mono red deck is going to struggle to interact with enchantments also, sometimes with like other things. Each
Yeah.
each color that is low is going to struggle to interact with some permanent type unless they're graced with, like white can hit most stuff.
Huh. So your final point is colorless good.
My final point is my final point is colorless good. My final
Okay,
point
nice.
is sometimes 7 generic mana is as easy to cast as like 6 and a couple green, or 4 and a couple green. I mean,
That's true. What are your thoughts in general when it comes? So far you haven't. So I had this expectation that you were going to come in here and like a big reason of why you were bringing this card to the podcast was because of Gaia's Cradle's existence.
mm,
We've yet to mention Gaia's Cradle in this whole thing. So I do want to ask while you have the positives, while you have the floor,
yeah,
is that relevant at all to this card?
I think it's relevant in the sense that big mana decks are something people are comfortable playing. People are willing to try and resolve stuff that is 7 mana. And I think that aspect of Cradle decks is intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it doesn't always line up with Cradle decks, honestly, because a lot of those decks are going to be running a lot of dorks and a lot of low cost creatures, and that's what they're going to be finding their mana from. And so they might not have the density of colorless spells that I think you want in order to make this card shine.
Yeah, it also kind of like in low color green decks, I feel like a lot of them tend to focus on oof type of effects a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So there
Yes,
might be some counter synergy where if low color green deck might not be playing a lot of rocks because they're playing things that turn off artifacts.
it's true. At the same time, this deals with oof. So if you if you
That's
struggle to deal with
true.
oof,
It's
this deals with
true.
it.
That is very true. That's funny. I was kind of just like looking up to see, looking through lists to see if I can see any green decks that like actively run Cradle and run this card. And the only thing I'm really seeing is like a little bit of Kinnan. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
couple.
Yep, I was hoping Kinnan was going to be one of the like lightning round decks because
Oh,
I
okay.
think I think it's
Interesting.
somewhat up there on things that you
Interesting.
might want to experiment with it, just because it can pull off that kind of mana value in a card.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Great. All right. Mike, did you have any other points or are you handed the baton to Ya?
I'm handing the baton to I have fringe ones, but I don't think they're gonna earn me enough points that they're relevant to
We'll
go to
add that at
now.
the end. We'll throw them in at the end. Lightning fringe round.
Great.
Well, for me, I think since you brought up like Cradle type decks, I think something that a card that Kyle and I will talk about a lot that this really kind of pairs well with is like a Displacer Kitten, right? Because being able to play this down to zero it for some mana and then to play out a rock of any sort, hopefully like a free rock, to then also get a Displacer Kitten trigger that you can target this with, you're potentially only having to pay 1 pip, right? Especially if you like decide to zero it twice for whatever mana you need. Or you can flicker it, like you can zero it to add the mana so that you're only paying the 4, or and then flicker it to then +2 it to draw a card, right? Which may then push you to be able to do it again, whatever it is you want to be able to do with like a Displacer Kitten kind of line. And in Cradle, since Kyle brought it up, like I do think that it's in Cradle and in black decks in general, like being able to generate 7 mana kind of out of nowhere is very reasonable, right? It's a very reasonable ask in either green or black, and red to some degrees.
Yeah, depending on the red deck. I did my mind was immediately kind of drawn to Godo in a sense when you were talking about low color decks, but then at the same time I'm like, they're just trying to count to their number to win the game, not count to their number to play UGIN.
Correct. The Cradle decks, some of the list, right? Like some of the more famous decks tend to want to control more, right? And I think a card like this is it controls while also kind of helping to push you forward, right? Like it's going to allow you to get those cast triggers, get the initial cast trigger. It's already running the Cradle decks are running Sowing Mica Spawn, which is a devoid card, which will trigger this, right? Because it is specifically a colorless card. So like they're already kind of looking to kind of cast some of those types of spells anyway. And they can sometimes just have more mana than they know what to do with. We generally know that they're going to put that mana into a Thrasios activation. I kept wanting to say Thassos.
Thassos activation. Oh no,
right. Thrasios activation. So being able to, even in the same turn you cast this in that type of deck and getting multiple activations is pretty goated. And then at the same time, you could be dealing with, like Mike said, at least 2 different threats that are keeping you from kind of really popping off.
Yeah.
And on the control aspect of this card too, I mean, we mentioned Urza's Battlethopter as one of the decks that plays this. So like being able to potentially flash this thing out and then control the board at flash speed by flashing other rocks is kind of hot. That being said, it's contingent on you having a flash enabler out. And it does have like that weird anti-synergy where you can still get those triggers, but you can't actually activate the Planeswalker ability on someone else's turn. So you're just kind of like, I'm like kind of controlling you, but just you wait for my turn, you know?
Yeah. I do think though, like there are other cards that we have been talked about that, you know, with some mana investment become something that can potentially free up the board from like an actual mid-range hell landscape.
Yeah.
Which I know things are maybe moving away from in some metas, but that is still a threat that people run into. And if Yaz like that doesn't exist anymore, I think in that way you can like being able to with one permanent suddenly make your other spells also deal with a bunch of permanents, and enable you to clear multiple things with kind of again one effect is really important.
Yeah, and like from your own anecdotally speaking, how often is that -11 actually relevant? Because that's like the one thing we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah. So I haven't used it.
Ever?
Yeah, I haven't used it.
Never. Okay.
And the reason I haven't used it is because every time this has come down, I have won before 2 turns have come around.
Okay,
like,
Mike.
Genuinely. Because
see that? Play this card, win the
serious. I'm dead serious.
That bottom part doesn't have to be there because it just says you win.
Yeah, it just says you win before then. No, I do think that like this card resolving again in Gwenom is huge and is going to likely win the game. But I do think other decks that can get big discounts can like it as well. So I wasn't shocked when we saw Wheeliod on here.
Yeah.
Because again, you can discount its entire mana cost.
Yeah.
You just drew 8 cards. Okay. You were
card.
looking at a big board across from you. You play this for 1 mana, 0 mana. You play the rest of your rocks and just clear the rest of the board.
Blast everything. That's crazy.
That's pretty nice with a big discount on generic mana.
Magic Christmas Wheeliod land.
I mean, that is what Wheeliod's trying to do, though, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. It's always Magic Christmas Wheeliod land.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have any more fringe points, Mike? I know you said you were banking them. I'm ready for them.
I do. I'll lightning round them, and I'm hoping one of them sticks too. And you're like, actually, that's maybe real. So, despite me not having used it, that ultimate, like, it's pretty damn good. So it should win games, right? Again,
in theory, yeah.
in decks that are excited to run it, like it's probably getting you wacky stuff like an Etherflux Reservoir or your Sensei's Divining Top or other things that you're really trying to like click together your combos with. Maybe like it's getting you your pieces to make infinite mana. It should win you the game. That said, you'll never get to use it, but it is there.
My favorite part about the -11 ability is it just sounds like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old at recess making up a card and like what it does, you know?
Yeah.
It just like runs into the house, grabs an otter pop from the freezer, goes, my card, it says search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, and then I can cast all of them, and then I win the game.
Yeah, and when I do that, I exile all your colored permanents too.
Yeah, and it completely you can't do anything about it, and then it runs away. That's the vibe of the -11.
Yeah,
it's like a 6-year-old.
I agree. The 6-year-old aspect of it greatly improves the card. I think another one is if you play it, it comes in at 7 loyalty, which there's downsides, but I think this is a positive. Like again, in Gwenem, you'd rather people hit it than hit your face because you need all your life.
Okay.
Yeah. And 7 is like enough loyalty that sometimes a board won't be able to clear that. You know, if it's turn 3 and you like Culling the Weak and you play this, like people might not have enough power to actually crack through this. This might sit out there for a turn or two, giving you an extra rock the first turn, then giving you a card the next turn. Like,
are you talking about Culling Ritual or Culling?
No, sorry, Culling Ritual.
The one that clears everything. Right?
Yeah, I'm a Culling Ritual or Culling the Weak, like anything that lets you get up to that set. You know, early you do something that gets you up to that 7 mana, and manage to stick it before people are willing to commit resources on countering it. It's gonna be a problem in that game.
I feel like Culling Ritual into this card might be the only time that the ultimate does resolve.
Yeah, you might
just clear everything because you just clear everything out, cast your Ugin, and then go, okay, good luck, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. We did talk about 8.5 tails. That's in my lightning round fringe. But the other piece is the cards that it deals with, and I kind of said this already, but the card that it deals with are explicit problems for the decks that want to run this, which is like Mystic and Heuristic Study shut off like a deck that's trying to go for a Citadel line. They shut off a Zuladoc. They shut off like a Joyra or something that's trying to storm out. It deals with the cards that you want to be dealing with if you're already in this strategy. Those are most of my fringe points.
What do you mean most? Is there one that you're hiding from us? Are you ashamed of a point?
I guess that's all of them.
The last point is just a dot that says, I love dragons.
That's there too.
Yeah.
The art is fun with the flip one.
That's true. Isn't this the card that has like this? Isn't there like a super juiced up like fancy art for this? It's like $1 million.
Probably.
You know what I'm talking about?
I hope so.
I think there's like a super amazing. That's what it is. It's called a Halo foil. The Halo foil is $400.
Whoa. Yeah, that is pretty juiced up.
It's like super Rainbow Dragon 9000 right there. Wow.
Yikes.
For all you MTG whales out there who have unlimited money, check out the Halo foil.
Yeah,
it's pretty sick.
It is pretty sick.
Extra style points if you have that. Anyway, all right. Yeah, do you have any more points?
The only thing I would like to just remark on is like when Mike mentioned that this can survive a turn cycle is I think that the loyalty amount is so large that some folks, when deciding between getting swings in to connect so they can draw cards versus hitting the Planeswalker, even if they do decide to swing at Ugin, that's great because then you're pushing them off of that one extra card that they would be kind of pushing if they were getting if they swung at you instead, right?
Yeah.
To his point is like this is a big enough draw. You can absolutely have no intention of ever trying to ultimate this thing, but like that their little voice in your opponent's head will be going, no, we can't let him have that. And you can even encourage that, like, ooh, man, I've never gotten to do it before. I would love, I would love to be able to ultimate this thing, right? And so now they're like going, well, shoot, like maybe his game plan is resolving around 3 turns of this surviving so that I can eventually alt this, right? Like, they might not think it through. They probably will, but
elite politicking. You guys are on cast the card. You guys are on a 3-turn clock. Good luck.
Right. Just throw that out there. You may not have any intention of actually alting it, but in order to just keep a Tymna deck off of 1 extra card draw, 2, whatever it may be, that's definitely not nothing. It is, and this still drives your game forward.
Yeah. It is a planeswalker, so not every counterspell hits it. That is another fringe point that's on there.
True.
Yeah, true. That is actually based.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to get hit by your actual hard counterspells, but it's not going to hit by your Strict Serenade. Yeah. Actually, it is going to get hit by
get hit by Strict Serenade. I was going to say, wait, it definitely does. Swan Song, you're safe. Strict Serenade, you are not.
By your Dispels, your Miscasts.
The more common Swan Song. Yes.
Yeah. Flusterstorm. Yeah. You're chilling.
Yeah.
You're big chilling.
I haven't seen Kyle chomping at the bit to kind of get into the downsides of
I'm
that
not
card in a
chomping
while.
at the bit to get to the downsides. What I am chomping at the bit for is our very first mid-podcast segment.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Mike, congratulations. You are the guinea pig for our very first brand new segment. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
It's called That's a Good Flavor Text? ? In this segment, we are going to provide you a CEDH staple flavor text. This is a card you have heard of, seen, and likely played.
Probably played.
Oof.
And it's going to be your job to guess what CEDH staple this is.
Mike, if it helps, I don't actually know the flavor text he's about to give you either.
Nice. Yeah, you can play along.
Know.
I want you to write it down, DM me, what you think the answer is, so then I can share it to the listeners at home. But this staple was brought to us by our wonderful Bonkers tier patron, Go to Combat MTG. Shout out you. All right, are you ready for your flavor text?
I sure hope so.
There is no glory to be gained in the kingdom of the dead. Quote, Vec Tomb Inscription.
Vec Tomb? Spell Vec.
VEC. One more time.
There is no glory to be gained in the kingdom of the dead. Quote, Vec Tomb Inscription.
This is a CEDH staple or like common? Okay, yep. Staple. You're saying staple. It with confidence.
Staple.
Oh, man.
I guarantee you both have seen and or played against this card.
I have a guess, but it's based on some tenuous threads here.
Okay. Talk it through.
So Vec stuff is associated with Shadow, I think. Like in the lore, though I'm not excited about what Kyle's reacting with. So my initial guess is like Douthie Voidwalker. It kind of touches on like there being no glory. What was it? No glory in the grave?
There is no glory to be gained in the kingdom of the dead.
Kingdom of the dead. Kingdom.
That's so funny, Mike. I was thinking the same exact thing. When he said the whole quote, I thought Douthie right away.
Mm-hmm. So at least we're wrong together.
Yeah. I'm also trying to remember.
I could be throwing you off.
True.
So
true.
When Kyle and I played around with this a couple of days ago, the big thing is like, I'm now trying to remember, does Douthie have a lengthy amount of like Oracle text? Because
no metagaming.
Right? The more Oracle text there is, the less
not
likely.
Ya's teching against
I'm totally teching.
This is crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Douthie is basically, if a card would go to the graveyard, it's actually a lot of text.
Yeah.
And there's also a reminder because it also has shadow. It also has shadow, and you have to tap it to sack it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Douthie.
By that margin, it also can't be any of the like animate dead things, which would be my other guesstimate.
So my other thought was reanimate itself.
Yeah, but you lose the life. It's got some more words on there.
It's not as much, but Douthie was my initial thought as well.
All right, putting a shot clock.
Okay. Am I just guessing out loud or am I right?
I believe in you. Nope.
Okay.
Just guess out loud,
you can
Mike.
Just guess out loud. I sent my guess to Kyle.
Okay.
I'll go with my initial guess. I'll go with Douthie Voidwalker.
All right. Unfortunately, Ya also guessed incorrectly. It's not Douthie Voidwalker. You guys metagamed really well because there's no way that it has enough room for that flavor text. Ya guessed reanimate.
I did.
I thought that was a pretty good guess. To be honest, when this was first sent to me, I guessed reanimate. My second guess, I said it's either reanimate or Underworld Breach. I was
Ooh.
wrong on both counts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This card is Ancient Tomb.
Ancient Tomb.
No.
Oh. Yeah.
That's good. I didn't
Yep.
even look at the land.
Yeah. I wasn't
Original
thinking lands at
Tempest
all.
printing, because it's got like the little ghosties coming out
That's
of the tomb,
right.
and the inscription
Good.
on the tomb.
Yeah.
It's all coming
That's
together.
really good.
That is good. And there's a lot of space for flavor text on those lands.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Mike, for being the very first That's a Good Flavor Text segment enjoyer.
Thank
I hope
you.
you liked it.
I enjoyed it greatly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Excellent. And listeners at home, if you like that new segment, let us know in the comments down below. All right, y'all. Are you ready for my downsides?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. I'm not going to lie to y'all. My first downside is a bit of a roast.
Of course.
But my first downside is just the sheer amount of flame and hate comments we're going to receive for bringing a 7-mana card onto the podcast.
It's been played. I've seen it played in videos.
Here's the thing, right? It's like every time we blast out, like, hey, we have a new podcast, right? If the card is over like 4 mana, we just immediately get flooded with comments saying, this is ridiculous. This is not CEDH. Nothing over 5 mana has to win you the game. And to be honest, that's something that we've talked about often on the podcast, is the idea of like at the 5 mana mark, it should put you in the driver's seat. It should put you at 80% plus chance of winning the game, right? So my first downside is the lowest hanging fruit of all, which is, look, 7 mana, game could be over by the time you actually have the ability to cast this card, right? So it puts yourself in a weird position where, look, normally for the big things, like we talk about semi-blue, right? We talk about big flips, Kinnan. Those things are being cheated in, whether it's through acceleration or some sort of, I don't know, like a Eldritch Evolution type effect where you can cheat something, see something huge in your deck can normally find a way in, whether it's through a reanimate, whatever. Because as a Planeswalker, you don't really have the ability to do that. Right. The only thing that you have is what you're talking about. If you have a Bolus's Citadel in play or a Gwenem in play where you can just cast it for life total, right? That's like the quote unquote cheating it in.
Yeah. Or big Zuladoc, like Cascade flips will cheat it in.
Exactly. Or a Cascade flip.
Rena Rector.
Yeah. Or a Wheeliod will cheat it in.
Yeah. So outside of the cost reductors that we just mentioned, this point is more geared towards the idea of, look, should these other big mana decks that don't have a way to quote unquote cheat in, should they be considering it? I think the answer is no, right? And because it's just, not only is it the 7 mana, you have to have a certain amount of setup, let's say turn 3, turn 4 with a Cradle deck, for example, to cast the card. The actual ability to resolve the card in a board state where you're putting yourself into an 80% board state already, like, how do I put this? I kind of went astray from what I was saying, but basically for those decks that have the ability to make that amount of mana at those times, there are other cards that they can play that are bigger mic drops or potentially just simply win the game versus an Ugin coming down. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make, at least in those color pies, those big Cradle decks. They likely have something else that will put them in the driver's seat more so than an Ugin might.
Interesting.
Okay, well, you got a rebuttal for that, Mike?
Yeah, so I do think I agree, but I think, again, I'm not going to fight too hard on not every big mana deck should run it, because I think I already agree with that, especially things that aren't running other colorless stuff. But I think we have identified things that can cheat it in, and I think those can benefit from it. And there are other cards that are, worth running at high mana values that people also aren't cheating in. Like you've talked about Lurking Predators, which sure is one less mana.
True.
But that is a big thing that you can't cheat in the decks that want to be playing it. And you're right, they put you in the driver's seat, but I think this can sometimes too. I think the other rebuttal is it sometimes not being a card that wins you the game lets it stick around and not get answered.
The classic rebuttal. Sometimes it's so bad
I like it, Mike.
that your opponents
No,
aren't
not
afraid
bad.
of it.
No,
Is
not
that what
bad.
you're
Not
saying?
bad.
Not bad.
bad.
It flies under the removal. It flies under the removal radar. It is important enough that people will think about removing it, but it doesn't win the game. You can say that as your politic as you resolve it.
I see. So you have the ability to say this doesn't say I win the
Yeah.
game on
And
it.
I just dealt with the Ristic player's Ristic. So aren't you kind of happy about it? Don't you want to give me a
It's a
little
good guy
goodwill?
Ugin.
It's a good guy, Ugin. He's locking his brother up. He's trying to keep the Grixis players in check. He's doing his best work.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of somebody in my local meta who plays Thalian the Gitrog monster and has been playing Defense of the Heart and has been calling it a good guy Defense of the Heart. Just be like, just let it resolve. I'll get whatever the table needs. It's a good guy Defense of the Heart.
How often does that work for him?
It happened too much. We were joking the last tournament. We're like, how does Jared keep getting away with this?
So what you're saying is Mike's point is valid. Like it works.
Honestly, sometimes the good guy giant spell, it could potentially work. I'll give you that. Oh man, that's funny. And like, I guess we're still in kind of the same realm of like, let me ask this question. So for like Lurking Predators, for example, is a very, very Kinnan card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider Kinnan or like mana acceleration in the command zone as being like a way to cheat in a card?
I think like I hesitate on the word cheating in things. Yeah. I think it's really just about what your deck's game plan is. And if that game plan involves being able to put high costed permanents into play, whether it's through discounting mana costs like Wheeliot or generating treasure like Lotho or, casting things off the top with Gwenum, like those are all like the whole format is built around getting advantage through kind of abusing, something that gives you that ability to put more value out than other people. So yeah, I think if your commander can do that, that's kind of like cheating it in.
Gotcha. Would you say the baseline for this card would be like, can your deck resolve this card by turn 3? Like, do you think that's a baseline?
I think that's a solid spot. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid spot to do it. I think if you can't do it by turn 3, I don't know that you need to always be able to, or that's your game plan, but if you can't do it by 3 ever, like it's probably not the kind of card that you want to be running. Yeah.
I agree with that for sure. That makes sense.
But what CDH deck can't produce 7 mana by turn 3?
The differentiator is consistency, right?
Sure.
Being able to consistently do it. There's plenty of decks that cannot do that. And like they can get to the 5 mark really easily, but like the 7 mark is just so unattainable. And I think you do have to be in one of those mana accelerator commanders in the command zone to get there, right?
For sure. I don't think you can run it in something like it doesn't have a place in Rogsai. Like it doesn't have a place in a deck that's going to try and be like obviously as efficient as possible on every single little card. It fits in the decks that are trying to kind of go over the top to clear out a board and win.
Yeah. And going into my second point, this is something that you guys kind of touched on in your positives, but I actually saw it as kind of a negative. You mentioned that, you spoke on life totals. You spoke on, in Gwenum specifically, Ugin basically taunting your opponent's damage away and just saying, hey, hit me instead of hitting my life total, right? I actually see it as a taunt asymmetrically for your opponents in a way that, like, if you have an Ugin out, let's say there's another deck at the table that utilizes their life total. Say it's me and Corvold playing an ad nauseum build, right? My opponents are incentivized to hit the Ugin instead of hit the player who utilizes their life total for their strategy that they would normally hit. And look, life totals are starting to matter more because the meta is starting to speed up. And when the meta speeds up, that means we're seeing more decks in black that use ad nauseum, that use necropotence. So I think that even if those turbo players, just because it's a turbo deck that you're playing against doesn't necessarily mean the deck is going to be, either win turn 2 or never try to win again, right? That just doesn't happen, right? Sometimes Rogsai gets stuffed by a mind break trap on turn 2, but they're still going to be jamming an Adnos turn 6, right? And their life total matters a ton throughout the entire part of the game. So sometimes there's this differentiation of like, oh, should I be hitting the Ugin with all of my stuff? And even if you are the one who controls Ugin and you have some blockers and it just slowly gets chipped away, like that could be 12 damage that could be hitting the Rogsai player. And that's the difference between the ad nauseum result or ad nauseum winning them the game versus not winning them the game. So that's my second downside is like the taunt is like you are taunting. That's not always a good thing. Like it's not always, oh, I just don't want to get hit my own life total. Sometimes it's like, Why are you hitting me? There is a wrong side of the table. There is a Corvold at the table. Like, please stop. And it's almost an impossible situation because the second you start arguing that, your opponent's just going to want to hit you more because they're like, of course you don't want me to kill your Ugin, you know?
Yeah.
So it puts you in a weird scenario when it comes to life totals mattering and like this like global taunt that's basically happening.
So if I may rebut,
Yeah.
I think the taunt is the potency of the taunt is absolutely controlled by your politic. And you made the case of like, oh, it's impossible to politic. Like people will always want to deal with it. But if a player is looking at, a player that like one of their opponents might go off with an Adnos the next turn, they have a couple treasure, they have some land out, they have quite a few cards in hand, there may be a threat. And then you're sitting there with, I don't know, 2 cards in hand because you burned them on a bunch of rituals and stuff trying to get your Ugin out. And your Ugin is 2 turns away from ulting, which is like when you're maybe a threat. And it's literally drawing you 1 card, right? You have a lot of angles to be like, maybe you want to attack this Ugin and try to chip away at it. But still, honestly, chipping away at a life total may be better than taking an Ugin from 7 to 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. And like sometimes players will take, okay, I'll crack Nykel's in at life total and make some treasures. I'll send my Rag in for the treasure in the card. I'll send my Timna in, get the extra card for myself. Like there are enough attackers in the format that are caring about hitting a player that you'll get a little bit of like dodging on the taunt in moments that it can matter.
That's interesting. I do like that point. There are a lot of attackers do care about on damage effects, right?
Yeah, they want to hit.
They want to actually hit a player and not a planeswalker to do the
exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
That's a good rebuttal. All right. I respect that rebuttal. I didn't think about that at all. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
It does lead me into my third downside though, which is kind of like a direct rebuttal to your rebuttal without us knowing. Which is that like as an opponent, I put myself in a position if I'm playing against an Ugin, it is very easy for me to politic against this card like there's no tomorrow. My thought process here, when it's on the stack, right? I can basically become the storyteller that's very Vorthos-esque about the death that Ugin upon us, like Ugin brings upon us. You know what I mean? Like, look, a lot of people, because this card is fringe, don't understand the potency of the card. So when they see a 7-mana legendary planeswalker dragon hit the stack and they're sitting there with their counterspell in hand, it's very easy for me as their quote unquote ally in this position to say, hey, if this resolves, you are not going to be able to keep any permanent on your board. Right. And then the person casting the Ugin is going, oh, dude, it's not that bad. It's not going to be that big a deal. But it's like, because you're in this position of power, basically windmill slamming this giant 7-drop 7 dragon. Doesn't help that it's a dragon. If it were like a little squirrel or something like that, I feel like it, might be a little less intimidating.
That's why you
for
play
the table.
baby side.
Yeah,
that's why I'm playing the baby side on
the
the flip version of the
chibi
Ugin.
side or whatever.
Yeah, the
on
chibi
it.
side.
Yeah.
People don't want to interact with that. Gets Felia points.
Yeah, exactly. So, I forgot that it had like the little baby.
Yeah, it's just a little.
It's just a little dragon.
Guy.
It's
a little guy.
A whelp. Yeah. But my point stands of like, it is so easy for me to say this is a huge problem because it's scary. It literally like it has this aura about it that is like, this is dangerous. This cost my opponent 7 mana to invest to cast this. It's screaming counter the spell, or it's screaming remove the spell. And for it to not actually win you the game, like you were explaining earlier, it's really difficult, right? It has the same effect, in my opinion, as like a Peer into the Abyss, where it's like, oh my God, like, wow, you just tapped, like everything on your board is sideways. You tapped everything for this. This is crazy, So there's this intrinsic Magic the Gathering player reaction when we see that to go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, I have to do something. So that's my third downside for this card is it's very difficult to, even if there is a world where you don't have a win or you're like, hey, I need to convince the table to not counter this or to keep this alive without divulging information, especially, it's really hard. Because you might be putting yourself in a situation where you're so desperate for this thing to not be countered that you're like showing your hand at the table, being like, oh my gosh, like just look at my hand, And then at that point in time, you've now given up even more information. And now you're in this weird position where, okay, if they do counter it, I'm always of the idea of like when a hand is shown to me, but I'm thinking about countering something, they're so desperate that like if I do counter this, they're out of the game. I don't have to worry about them anymore. And a lot of
Yeah.
times control players think of it in that capacity. It's like, okay, that's great. You just showed me your hand. You have no way for me to deal with, or no answers for me. I don't have to waste more than my one resource to stop you. And then I don't have to worry about you the rest of the game. Cool. Eat this counter spell, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at on the card. I just think that it can lead you to a position where you are all in on a card that does not win you the game.
So I will go back to a few things that I think we've talked about a little already, but I think in some ways they are a rebuttal to this piece. So one is that you're casting this, the first trigger is on the stack already, right? Mm-hmm. So you're removing something, sure. And UGIN is also on the stack. So someone might look at removing it and you say, hey, you know, the trigger is hitting that already. Countering UGIN isn't going to stop that. So like that trigger is out there already. And that is both a mental piece where people will be less willing to counter the spell because that trigger isn't attached to it. It's like there's something about it being split already that makes it annoying. Yeah. And then the other piece is you're countering like the first trigger is going at the most problematic piece on the board.
Yeah.
Right. Because that, of course, that's your target for it. So maybe the opponent has two people on their side, but maybe it was a good guy UGIN. Maybe, as I said, I'm dealing with the Ristic, I'm dealing with the fish. Other players are actually potentially happy that trigger is out there. They may not care to also spend their resources to deal with UGIN.
Yeah, but in that scenario, though, let's say, Mike, you have the UGIN, you're casting the UGIN, and you're pointing it at Yaw's fish, right?
Yeah.
And Yaw's playing blue farm. If I'm sitting there on my Talion list, I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, the blue farm's Ristic is going to get destroyed no matter what. Mike has this UGIN out, and yeah, I'm happy that the Ristic's being destroyed, but now I can just counter this UGIN, and now two players have kind of, you know, shot each other, and now I only have to deal with one opponent. Sick, you know? Like that's where my head's at. It's like, great. Like, and let's be clear, when you cast the card, you have to choose a target for your exile, like of what you're going to exile before we decide before we decide if the spell is going to be countered or not. Right. So I know where it's going to be pointed at. And if I gave more game information or something like that, there's no walking back. Right. So if I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to counter this spell, you can't be like, whoa. You know, I'm going to change the information. A judge might rule otherwise. But personally, once you have that information, you should not be able to walk it back.
Yeah.
So an interesting scenario where the third party of whatever's happening might be incentivized to stop your UGIN if you're not pointing it at their thing, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
I think that's a classic Mike.
I don't know if you saying "I suppose" is like you're frustrated because I made a good point, or you're like, this guy's an idiot.
Well, I'm trying to think back to the times that I've played it. And again, it's a bit skewed because most of the time it's trying to play it off of the top in Gwen.
You play it very combo-esque. You don't play it in Lotho, right?
I don't know. Okay. But if I was on an artifact heavy build of it, I'd think about it.
Wow. Do you know any artifact heavy Lotho pilots that are really skilled and handsome?
Yeah, I heard they win a lot of games on it too.
I've heard they haven't won a game on it.
That's crazy. Oh, that's crazy because my win rate on Lotho artifacts is 0-10. That's wild.
That is rough.
Oh man. Well, that's my last point. Honestly, I think the card is powerful. I'll give you that. Whether or not it's a good card, we'll see. I don't know. All right. What point of mine do you think was the biggest downside for UGIN?
I think the 7 mana has got to be it. Like that's obviously the problem with the card, right? If this card was 4 mana, people would be losing their mind. It's not 4 mana though. It's 7. So I do think that's of course, the main issue. It's the elephant in the room, and it does have to be addressed. And I think you really do want to play the card in decks that don't care about that element of its downside so much.
Yeah, what was your favorite point?
Probably the politicking part. I do think that part is a bit more theoretical, but it does lead down some good like thought processes and like kind of like how you can or can't use it. And like it almost leads me to say like I do like the point just because it's pretty thought-provoking in terms of like just like thinking about how you will want to politic when you have a card like this that you want to play, you want to test, and you want to be able to have resolve especially in tight games, right? And like in tight scenario games. Like I don't think the question really is whether or not this is a good card. I think it's a good card. It's whether or not, like for me, is like the reminder is like, is it good enough for CEDH, right? Because it's a cool card. It's a really fun card. And it almost wants to say like if there's that much politicking around this card, it may be worth trying in for that reason alone, because it is such a potentially game warping effect.
But we wouldn't call it a game changer.
It doesn't
Luckily,
change
no.
games. It just warps them.
Only warping. Yeah.
Game warping.
Well, my favorite point of yours was actually it's a cast trigger part 2 point, I think, which is that it kind of like you're diversifying your portfolio when you're going all in with this card. It's like you're spending some resources in order to get the cast trigger, but you're also spending some resources in order to have this like cool good guy UGIN, on the board that sticks around. So I like that you put your eggs in multiple baskets. And something that we did to rebuke my own politicking point, an interesting part about where you target with your with the initial cast trigger is like if like one of your opponents has a counterspell, right? And they have something on the board, say a Crom or a Timna, even a Ristic, and you point the cast trigger at their thing, right? And they know that they're going to lose that thing, and they're the one with the counterspell. I think they're actually less incentivized to counter the UGIN then, because that's the last thing they have left, right? And they might be thinking to themselves, well, shit, if I just lost my Ristic study, I have a counterspell, I can stop the UGIN, but if I do that, I literally have nothing. So now I might have to hold this counterspell to potentially draw a game later, or, if I get lucky. Because if they counter it, then they're like, well, now we're both out of this game. Like, are you happy? Like that kind of situation. So, I mean, at least in my perspective, if I were playing Blue Farm, I have a Force of Will in hand. Somebody points this at my Ristic study, I'd be like, I hate you so much, Mike. Because I can't counter it. Because if I do, then it's just like, okay, now we lose to So I think that is a fringe benefit to the UGIN, where if you know where the counterspells are, you can just simply point it at the person who has the counterspell, point it at one of their things, so that they feel less incentivized to counter your thing.
Yeah.
Unless they're super spiteful and salty, in which case, then that's going to egg them on to want to counter your shit more. So you got to read the room a little bit.
You definitely do. You definitely do. But there are also pods where there's not a crazy density of counterspells. Like if you're playing in a pod that, has an Atali, has some other deck that's trying to just do its own game plan, you might already kind of know where that counterspell is, because you're on some deck playing UGIN. So you're probably not playing those counterspells yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So like if your pod is like Animar, Obnixilis, Lotho, and Marath, maybe.
Yeah. Very specific. Where'd you get that?
I just pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah, it can hit Animar, so that's a huge positive for it in a mono black deck.
Yeah, for all you listeners out there who have trouble playing against Animar every week, maybe this is the card for you. Fringe benefit.
Really blowing up my local pods meta here.
I'm gonna name this podcast Ultimate Anti-Animar Tech? Question mark. All right. Say the thing, Mike. We're ready for you. Ask the question.
All right. So, Kyle, were you convinced? Is UGIN Eye of the Storms a good card?
The answer is no. I'm sorry, Mike. And your face said it before I even said no. You were fighting an uphill battle here. And I thought that you made some points that I didn't think about often, but there's too many stars that have to align in my head for this card to really, for me to focus or like think about wanting to brew around this card more, if that makes sense. I think there's a very clear path for the decks that can utilize this, a la Zuladoc, a la Liberator, like a la Gwenum. I get that. I'm totally fine with that when it makes clear sense. But there's nothing on this card that's screaming for me to want to test this in my Rog Thras list, or test this in my Blue Farm list, or even my Kinnan list. So that's kind of like where I'm at, where there's nothing that's jumping out at me. There's no broken hidden synergies that I wasn't aware of. Yeah, I did like your Displacer Kitten point, because I think that it's kind of lost on CEDH players sometimes, the benefit of having a Displacer Kitten and a Planeswalker, because we don't see it that often because there's not that many Planeswalkers in CEDH, but it is cool. Does suck that you can't do it at instant speed, but it is what it is. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm gonna say no. I'm sorry. Womp womp.
That's all right. That's all right. The card is good. I just did a bad job of convincing you, is what we've learned.
I'm gonna lose to this card by Connor, our
Absolutely.
Zoolog pilot, again, and I'm gonna go, oh, great, super fun. Really
Yeah,
happy
and in your
about
first
that.
match against Gwenham, you'll experience it as well.
I hope
Ooh.
so. I really hope so. All right. Ready for the rapid fire round, Mike? We're going to give you the name of a CEDH list, and you're going to say a scale of 1 to 10 how interested you'd be in testing UGIN in that deck.
Okay.
All right. First deck, Hashiton.
1.
Nice. Okay. That was a test to see if you're coping or not. Thank you. Thank you for being
Wow.
honest.
Yeah, no, it has no place in there that I can see.
Here's an interesting one that I did see when I filtered through tournaments of very small sizes.
Mhm.
Vivi.
I could see it. So I would give it this a 7 because I think I could see VV pilots experimenting with this. But my caveat is I don't play enough VV. So like I could see some VV player being like, no, that's ridiculous.
I can see it.
You always want to do stuff. But if you have the ability to play big mana and you're running things like Urza's Bauble, Mishra's Bauble, you have like this density again of colorless spells. The card gets a lot better when you hit that density. And again, Vivi's trying to storm off and it needs to deal with some of these pieces like Smothering Tithe or like Rhystic Study or like Fish that are just sitting out there stopping it from being able to go without giving another player a win also. It fits that role of dealing with those permanents that you want to deal with.
Yeah. And there's a lot of egg heavy VV decks too, where you can just like poop out a bunch of little artifacts that give you ammunition via UGIN. So
yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
Lumra,
like 2, 1.
Okay. That's lower than I expected. I want to be honest, because Lumra makes a bunch of mana.
Yeah, I'll give it 3 because I think it makes a bunch of mana, but you're on like 50 lands, right? And like
somewhere between
that many artifacts.
Yeah, you're not running that many
Yeah.
artifacts.
There's some Staxy versions of Lumra that can like really rip a bunch of Stax pieces out.
If there's a Lumra deck that's already on like 16, 17 artifacts, I think you could look at testing out a UGIN. And it is 1 more than the commander that you're playing. So I feel like when you're in a range like that, it starts to be something. So I'll update from my 2. I'll go to a 5. I could see a world where it makes sense.
Okay. Cool. What about Sisse?
1.
No, aren't you a Sisse pilot?
Yeah, but so the problem for Sisse is it doesn't have any colors, so it doesn't increase Sisse's power and toughness. It's at 7. If you're tutoring on Sisse for 7, you're getting Chromatic Orrery and winning the game.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't fit in the deck, unfortunately.
All right, and then last but not least, one that you wanted me to throw the alley oop for, Kinnan.
I think a 6. I think a 6. I think there are decks that I think there are versions of Kennen. I mean, it's such a flexible list. There's versions of Kennen that could experiment with this. Things that are really all in on making big mana and then doing stupid stuff with it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, to be honest, this does look like a big dumb Kennen card to me.
Yeah.
Like if my local Kennen pilot would show up and is like, I'm going to cast this UGIN Eye of the Storms, I'd be like, that's the most Kennen thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I'll cast this UGIN Eye of the Storms, deal with your oof, and then I'll play my Basalt Monolith off the 0.
It's like actual could happen.
Yeah, actual words that will come out of some Kennen player's mouth someday. At some point in time.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was the lightning round. Ka-chow.
So good.
All right, it's time for our favorite closing segment. That's a good card, question mark. If you haven't played with us before, listeners, what we're going to do is we're going to provide Mike with the name of an obscure Magic the Gathering card, and it's going to be his job, as well as yours, the listener, to guess everything about that card. Color, type, cost, flavor text, artwork, everything. Go ahead and pause the video, play along with us in the comments down below or in our Discord. All right, Mike, are you ready for your that's a good card, question mark?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, yeah.
The card I found for you today is called Hank You.
Hank You?
Yeah. HANKYU. Hank You. It's probably Honk You, but
Okay.
I just looked up the card.
Oh, no, that's cheating.
No, I'm not gonna play. I'm watching you play,
I need to
Mike.
deny.
All right? Nope. There's no ally.
Oh wow,
here.
yeah,
I just
you
looked
left
it
him,
up.
huh? You left him.
I will say, I do think that Ya's second pronunciation of the card is more accurate, in my opinion.
Yeah, honk you,
I think it's honk you.
honk you.
Because it's a goose. It's honking.
If that's what you want to go to with, yeah.
It's HANKYU.
I'm ready to guess. When do I guess?
You can do anytime. This is part of the
Rip
this is
it.
part of it. Yeah, this is part of it for you.
Okay, honk you.
What's in your mind?
I have a couple things. One would be some kind of wacky artifact, because I feel like it's often that. Like some kind of talisman or like, amulet kind of honk you thing. But then there's a world where I could see it being some specific creature also. This game is so much harder when you're not listening along, I gotta say.
Just go with your heart. What is your gut?
Yeah,
Me and Ya
I'm
have
go.
played this game so many times. It's just like the first thing that your mind thinks of. At least that's how I do it. Visualize the honk you, and then just go.
I'll go with the honk you. So I think it's an artifact. I think it costs 3 mana.
Okay.
I think it is not a creature. It's just a plain old artifact.
Okay.
And I think it gives you some effect when your creatures attack. I think it might have like an attack trigger. It's some rallying banner or amulet or item like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we getting when we attack with the honk you?
I think when we attack with the honk you, we're getting to tap something or untap something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any permanent or creatures?
A creature. I think a creature.
Okay.
Yeah. Any permanent would be pretty decent. I feel like.
So you think this
too
card's
decent
trash?
for what I'm expecting honk you to do. Yes. And then I think the art is a hand holding this item that is they're utilizing to to disrupt their opponents. Some sort of weapon. Yeah, a honk. If you will. Some sort of weapon, like a a hook on a chain, some sort of
hook
item
on
like
a chain.
That. Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
That's what I've got.
Any flavor text?
Yes. It is better to aim for the head than to honk you.
I love
that's what I got.
Wow.
Oh man.
Who made that quote? Is there like is it spoken by anybody or?
It might be a Sun Tzu quote.
Okay.
It might be a War
Yeah.
of Kingdoms card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
That's what I got. Yeah.
So it's actually kind of interesting that you went with like a kind of like almost a Chinese proverb type of flavor text. Because this card is from Champions of Kamigawa. Hankyu is an equipment or artifact equipment. It is 1 cost. The art is of a body with their hands holding a bow. So Hankyu is apparently a bow. With like, and the person also has a quiver of arrows slung over their arm. The Oracle text reads: equipped creature has tap, put an aim counter on Hankyu, and tap, remove all aim counters from Hankyu. This creature deals damage to any target equal to the number of aim counters removed this way. And then it also has equip for 4 with no flavor text because there's a wall of text.
Okay.
So I'm impressed you went with your gut, which is definitely the right call because it was an artifact. And it was just the name of this bow, apparently.
It was somewhat weapons related.
Yeah. And it interacted with opponents' boards.
Sure.
I'm going to send this to you now so you get to see it as well. And then listeners will be looking at it on the screen right now.
Hankyu is very interesting. I don't know if we'll ever see aim counters being played in CEDH, but you never know.
It's one of those, I thought about playing, like trying to find some salt card, but then I was like, no, that's probably played up for him. And
the problem is that Mike would know all of them.
I would hopefully know them.
Wait, Mike, you're
Hopefully
saying
no.
that Honku doesn't show up on the top 100 salty cards?
Thankfully, no, it does not show up. It's not even in the top 300 salty cards.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I would windmill slam my Honku if I knew it
It's
was
also
going to be
You know,
effective.
My favorite part about Honkyu is that it triggers UGIN, Eye of the Storm.
True.
It
It does.
you
It
guys have
does.
said honk you so much now that it's like feels weird.
I just
Feels
keep
weird.
thinking like honk like a gilded goose, like honk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
It's
what I
exactly.
think
hank
of.
you. I mean,
Hank
I
you.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Hank
know.
you. I don't know.
Hank you.
Somebody let us know if you played it during the Champions of Kamigawa block. Let me know. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some Berthos.
All right. Well, that was our That's a Good Card question mark segment. Thanks for playing along with us, Mike. And thank you, listeners, for putting your guesses in the comments down below. All right, Mike, it's the end of the podcast. This is the time where we give you the floor to talk about everything that you're up to. Talk about your wonderful podcast, plug any and everything that you want. The floor is yours.
Gladly. So the first thing I'll plug is the That's a Good Card Patreon. It's great. You should check it out. You can hang out in their Discord community. They're great. I tell people all the time I'm one of those those people that go either way when they make content. They either love that kind of content or they never listen to that kind of content at all. I listen to no podcasts despite being on a podcast. I actually listen to one podcast, and it is your guys' show. So
Wow.
I am the
Thank you.
recommender that's always like, this is the only one I listen to. Go listen to. So
Thank you.
yeah, it's excellent. So those are my first plugs, and then I'll of course plug my channel where we're doing episodes every week. We're talking about things we're doing YouTube video episodes every other week. Howling Salt Mine on YouTube, Howling Salt Mine on Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast content. We're on socials as well, posting shorts, sharing cards, getting excited about things that make people salty, and send us your stories at howlingsaltmine@gmail.com too, because that's the most fun thing we have going on. And we like to go to conventions. So if you're at one, come see our live show.
It's a blast.
Yeah, amazing.
Colin and I go every time we can.
We do.
It's still fun.
Yeah. And honestly, like unironically, funniest podcast I've ever listened to. Like actually, there is no podcast or really content I have ever listened to that has made me actively laugh as much as the Howling Salt Mine has. So we have a ton of crossover listeners between the both of us, and you guys have done like an amazing job of giving us a bunch of helpful tips and tricks of making the podcast into what it is today. So we are really grateful to y'all. And for those listeners who listen to our podcast but haven't checked out the Howling Salt Mine, please, please, please do so. Like honestly, it's fun. Like the best. Yep. So good, so funny. Probably not while the kids are listening. Maybe put the AirPods in, but
yes, that.
Oh well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on this podcast today. It was a blast.
This was so much fun. Yeah, I absolutely did. I knew I was fighting an uphill battle with the card that I was bringing, but it was fun to spend the time on it anyway.
That's how it is every week for me.
Yeah. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Exactly. I do think it's funny that many people are choosing for me to be the bad guy when we have these guests on the podcast. Nobody wants Ya to fight against.
Everyone wants a challenge. It's good.
Are you saying Ya's not a challenge?
I'm thinking
you're not wrong.
I was going to say because that's an accurate statement.
That's super accurate. I'm not going to even deny it. No, that's cool.
Oh my goodness.
That's how you know. That's how we know it's a challenge.
Ya is self-aware, listeners at home. Okay, so
if anything, he is.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We'll have links to everything Howling Salt Mine related down below. Make sure you check out Howling Salt Mine at MagicCon. If you go in there, they have these amazing live shows that we talked about earlier. It's a blast. You'll probably see me and Ya in the crowd cheering them on.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Really, truly an exciting thing to be on.
All right, listeners. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please check out links in the description down below. We will see you next Monday. Bye.